Hey there, Jaden. Hope you're having a great day today. This is your video lesson. One big thing I want to talk about, and then if you have questions at the end or want me to look at anything, feel free to shoot a message on over, and I will do my best to answer. Cool, let's get to it. So, going real quick about pickups and all that stuff. Whole world in there to mess around with. So make sure that that before I would start spending like serious money on like fancy bare knuckle pickups or something like that, or like Fishman pickups, I would just get some like a cheap set from like StewMac or something like that. Don't spend crazy money. Get a cheap soldering iron, like 20-30 bucks on Amazon. I got one off there. It wasn't that much. It was like 30 bucks at the most. Comes with a little bit of solder. I think it's tin solder, tin and nickel or something like that. I can't remember what the compound was. But practice just like connecting wires and watch a lot of YouTube videos, about how to tie them off and things like that. I know a little bit about that kind of world, but I know enough that when you start kind of getting into electronics and things, get the cheap stuff first, get Chinese knockoffs off Amazon, and then practice on that stuff. And then when you feel confident, when you tinker around with like a less expensive guitar, then I would start getting into getting nicer pickups and things like that. So that's the way I would approach that. So awesome, man. So I didn't see you I didn't get a video from you with anything playing through with this the Avenged Sevenfold solo. So what I'll do is I'll hold off on that this week, because I think last time we went over like string skipping. I want to see how that's looking before I give you, because otherwise I wouldn't know what device to give you without seeing it. So what I'm going to do today is kind of introduce our next project, where our next project is going to be, which is Dam the River by Alice in Chains. For this tune, we're going to be in drop D flat tuning, and what that is just a standard drop D tuning, like say standard tuning, and drop the D down to, drop the E down to a D. We're going to take everything and move that drop D tuning down a whole 1/2 step. So instead of being E, this is going to be an E flat. This is going to be a B flat, this is going to be a G flat, this is going to be a D flat, this is going to be an A flat, and then instead of just being like an E flat, we're going to drop this down to a D flat. So it sounds like this. And so that's the tuning that they're in. So the riff first, I'll go over the main riff, and then there's a second riff that he does. A third riff that moves around a little bit. But just going over the riff, we have 3, 4, 5, and we're doing 3-string bars with the pad of our fingers. So it's these kinds of chords. So when I play this, I'm using fingers 1, 2, 3 to fret those lower strings. We have nice and slow. Right? It's kind of cool. There's a rhythmic device in here. It's called a hemiola. This one's in 6/4 time, and what the neat thing about it, why it sounds cool, is because instead of things just ending right at the end of the bar, the riff continues over top of the bar into the next measure, and that technique is called a hemiola. And a lot of modern metal players use that to make things sound asymmetrical or more Meshuggah-like, where they actually have 4 bars and the riffs never actually land on one until you get to the end of the 4-bar cycle, which is why those bands sound interesting and asymmetrical, is because they are asymmetrical. Nothing lands on one, not until the next pattern. So this one's not quite as complex as that. This one just does 2 bars, and then you skip over that second bar's downbeat. But that's why this one sounds cool, is because there's a technique called hemiola. All right, so we have here's 3, 4, 5, 0. There's the hemiola, and a hard stop there on that third. And so what is he doing here? Is that a common technique for the grunge era was taking a pentatonic scale and turning it into power chords. Right? That's what they're doing. So if I pretend, I'm just going to call this all D, right? So I'm going to not call things D flat or E flat. I'm just going to say D because it's easier to say. It's easier to think about. So if I do just a normal D minor pentatonic scale, this open is a D, right? Because we tuned it to D. So you have D, E, E flat, E, and then F. That's our next note. So you have 1, flat 3, and then 5 is a G. So D, F, G, A, C, and then D. So I've taken a D minor pentatonic scale and just harmonized it. So. And if I turn on my distortion pedal here, it's good modern metal because my Alice in Chains distortion is too far away. fit right smack dab in the middle of the grunge era, right? So to make a grunge riff, what you do is you take a minor pentatonic scale, in this case a D minor pentatonic scale, and you play the notes of D minor pentatonic as power chords. But they have more, it gets more complex than that. What they do is they'll get bored of that, so they'll turn it into a blues scale. So we know we're going to take a blues scale, so D, F sharp, or sorry, D, F, G, flat 5, you put that blue note in there. Now it's starting to sound like Alice in Chains, right? So you have D, F, G, A flat to flat 5. The same way if I was playing a D minor pentatonic scale, imagine if it was standard tuning. Right? That's what they're doing there. So the first step is to play a minor pentatonic scale harmonized in its power chords and throw some distortion on. And then the next step would be to turn it into a blues scale by adding that flat 5 in between the G and the A and put an A flat in there, just as you would a blues scale, right? This is a blues scale just harmonized with power chords. And then there's different levels of complexity, but the next level of complexity would be adding the major third, right? So we have a D to an F, 0, 1, 2, 3, 3 half steps. That gives us an F right there. But what they would do, they would add the major third in there, and then, right, you get that chromatic line. So instead of just doing this, so now instead of just having this, they throw the major third, the F and F sharp, into the scale. So we have a D, F, F sharp, G, G, A flat, A, C. Now, what the glue that holds it all together is, and the reason why I started with the D minor pentatonic is because you have to be constantly reiterating that root note, the D, for it to sound like D, right? If I just did like, well, it's not really anything, it's just a chromatic line, but if that's my foundation and I treat these as passing, that's going to sound like it's in D. Good thing I didn't take my nail off there. Hit that pretty hard. So, right? So now we got some Alice in Chains happening here. We have our blues scale type, and then we have the... Now, would I teach that as a scale? Probably not. It's very few people ever come in here who are looking for grunge music who also know theory. So would I tell someone that the name of the scale is D blues sharp 3? If they're like you who knows a bit of theory, then that would mean something to you. But that's not the way these guys are thinking of it. They start off with a blues scale or a minor pentatonic. They know those notes work well together. We always got to be reiterating that D constantly to make it sound like D and make it sound like D minor pentatonic. And then they stick in some chromatic notes. That's just easy to stumble upon, so that's probably what happened. But theoreticians come back later on. Say, with music of Bach, theoreticians come back at Bach composed, right? Mozart composed, Beethoven composed, and Haydn composed, and Giuliani composed, right? They all write music. And then it's up to theoreticians from a later generation to come back and go, okay, what were the things that they were doing? What consistent devices did they use? And us as theoreticians can come back and go, okay, Alice in Chains, what did they do? This is a common thing that they did, so now we can put a label on it. So it's not like they woke up one day, hey guys, let's play D blues sharp 3. And that's not what they were thinking. And nor would I teach someone D blues sharp 3 as a useful scale. It's just the way we can describe what they're doing so that way we can recreate it if we want to write a riff a la Alice in Chains, Jerry Cantrell. Right? So the riff itself is this. Using that F sharp G, right? We have that major third section there. We go to the blues part of it, right? Just chromaticism. The glue holding it together is that open that he lands on, right? So he's always landing on the open, which gives us that D minor sound. So one more time. Oh, that one. And then for the next section, he's just gonna palm mute that. Right? That's what he's doing. So cool, so work on that riff. That's the little bit of theory behind what's going on and how to write like a grunge player. All right, I will see you same time next time. Take care.